sitting with the fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. There's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to fall. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming back to me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees enough to the thought, and I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet there's enough for thought, and in these days, come on after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet there's enough for thought, and I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet there's enough for thought, and in these days, come on after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet there's enough for thought, and I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet there's enough for thought, and in these days, come on after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet there's enough for thought, and I'll only sitting if they fall. But there's enough for me. I bet there's enough for thought, and in these days, come on after me, and when they fall.
Hello, welcome back to the stream. Song 8. So what am I doing? I'm doing an RPM challenge, and it's for the month of February. And I'm going to try and create 10 songs. And I am up to song 8. But when we say that, we should be really clear about saying these are just, or when I say that, these are just ideas. They're not songs. They're like little pockets of emotion and and little scribbles and thoughts here and there. From there, we'll start molding them over the next month, and you'll get to do that. But man, you guys will get a huge insight into my process of writing. A real treat if you're into my music. If you're not, you can just watch along and lift off how I use renoise. And that's the next thing. I do use renoise, and renoise is a tracker-based DAW. It's really different. Someone jumped into chat and was like, "Are you using HTML to write music?" And I was like, it kind of is. It's kind of a lot like HTML, and you're writing like basic hex color codes into certain columns to try and make that happen. But as before, all in the other songs, I'll do my best to kind of explain my process as I'm doing it. I'll speak out aloud. And then if I go silent, it's because I'm trying to focus on different things. But chat, hit me up if you've got anything that you want to say. Or if you've got any questions, feel free to interrupt. I'll take the time to answer it. I've answered a lot of amazing questions and had like already the viewership has exceeded my expectation. And I'd just like to thank everyone for sticking around and just listening through this. It starts off really sketchy, gets really nice, and then it gets pretty, and then we all go, yeah, I think I like that. That could be a song. So yeah, let's stick around and do that. So let's get started into writing. I'm going to do this one a little bit different. I did one very similar to this. I think a couple of days ago. So we're going to cut up a vocal, and I'm going to do that vocal right now. And I'll just talk you through the process of how that's actually done. I've also noticed that I'm just gonna check. Yeah. And leaning. If I lean too far forward, okay, great, we got this. I just don't want to look like I'm out of frame because I'm really tiny in the corner, but I can make myself bigger, but who wants that? It's all about this. I've also reduced the stream down to 720p today. Apparently, until you're a Twitch partner, you don't get stepping options, which means 1080, 720, 480, and whatever 360 p options. So I've stepped it down to 720, and those options should be there. So if the stream starts stuttering, it'll automatically fix it. So hopefully that works. I was trying to keep the res up so that we could, everyone could see what I was actually doing. So there's that. Right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually make a. I'm going to take my socks off. It's a bit rude, isn't it? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a little sine wave, and we're going to use that as a base to kind of pitch ourselves off. The other day I did a single tone and I kind of sung around that, but with today I might grab a series of notes and start already in a key. So press the draw button, tap in the middle, it says create new sample. I'm just going to process that and leave it as is. In this case, let's do kind of triangle-y wave. They're one of my favorites. We can make this pretty rough, it doesn't really matter. So we'll turn off the draw mode now. I'm just going to fade this in on one side so it doesn't clip, and fade it out from the other side. If I press my keyboard right now, you're going to hear the sound. So that is how you draw a triangle wave. So when we switch over back to this, I'm going to put a note down. I'm going to put a little chorus and a reverb on this, only because we need to soften this a little bit. Just a little bit, just a tad. We'll put 5% down on that. I think that should be enough for the chorus. And then we'll just use the standard reverb supplied by Renoise, which some people have feelings about. Each their own. I kind of like it. It feels a bit like a really old school DSP slap verb delay. It's not as pretty as all the new ones that can do all the spectral stuff and put all these beautiful tones through it, but this is fine. So I'll press the instrument. You'll hear a bunch of effects on it now. So let's just pick a random key. I'm not one of those people that's like, I only sing in this key and that's when my voice is the best. I actually don't know where it kind of sits, so let's just pretend that it's amazing at E, in the key of E, the guitar tuning. Okay, so let's trigger this note off. I'm gonna just put a little O's on this other end, and this will start controlling the actual instrument that gets triggered, and in this case O means out, and it's going to turn the volume down over time. So we've got a little thing going down, a little sine wave, oh no, triangle wave. I'm going to put the metronome on and figure out what beats per minute are. Pretty slow. Let's stay with it. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna reach in for a second note and see where this goes. And I might actually get 2 notes out on this so that we can create some kind of really simple chordal structure. I don't want to fill the chord in too much. I'll probably describe it out at the end notes. So if we're in C and you do C, E, G, which would make a major chord, we would do, what I mean by describing it out is I would do C and G and skip all that middle part. The middle part, which you could, if we're staying in C, you could make it C, D, and G, which would make it a sus note, which I love all the sussonant kind of notes that kind of feel a little bit off here and there. I'll allow my voice to kind of go through those tones. All right. So I've got 2 in there. I'm just going to turn the volume down because it's going to be increasing quite a bit. So just leaving those driving little moments through there. A really big trend that happened and is still continuing to happen in music is using these notes to drive nearly everything at the moment. Also known as the power sevenths or whatever. Did I just make that up? Probably did. Gonna trigger off the same chord again there, and then create another little moment. Everyone loves that. So really simple, and I'm just going to break it up a bit with this little chorus. Just adding some more little width and other stuff going on with the reverb there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly use that as a bass to write some vocals that we'll use to cut up to actually drive the whole of the song. But we'll always keep this chordal moment going on. So I'll get it set up into record mode really quickly, and then we'll just sing along and see how that works out. Alright, I've got a vocal chain set up, so I'll bring this over into this channel, and then it's a matter of setting it up. So I won't be able to talk in this mode because I'm recording, but I'll be right back. If you've got anything to ask or say, I won't answer it until I'm out of this mode. Thank you so much. Check. last chord. So I'll leave it at those bunch of takes. I needed a glass of water halfway through that, but let's not talk about that. And what I'll do now is we'll go through, we'll cut up some of those vocals over that really naff. It's not naff, it's just so typical of what's currently, you know, kind of going through. So I really want to change that up and figure it out, but I needed something to drive this underlining tone. I super enjoyed the last kind of take that I did, but we've got enough of a bunch of things to kind of go through. I might create a lot of the instrumentation with these vocal tones as well. So kick drum, snares, all that other stuff. Let's just start manipulating all of these samples and figuring some things out. I'm gonna take a glass of water. There you go. Okay, so first thing first is we'll just listen back to the takes. I'm going to duplicate this out because they went for double the amount of time. I'm also going to go here and be a little bit cheeky. I do this because I'm just not rushing through these. I am not doing them fully correct. Some of the emotional moments are right in there, but other times they're just going to be a little bit off. So we're going to stick this in E, and we're going to stick it in E minor, and I think we should be set with that. And we'll trigger off the first one. And I'm going to slow the speed of that right down. And I'm going to also do something really weird where I forgot to tune this properly, so let's do this again. So that playing through the whole sample there. I'm just pressing auto seek on it, allows it to jump through when the audio is playing. So let's play the second one that I did. Great moment to take a water. So I need to cut through this, do a sample offset into 80 to get halfway through that sample. So I'll do that at the start here, S80. So I think I might just redo that take. I think that'll be fine. So I'll just quickly go back into record mode again. So, I think I said at the beginning, oh, it doesn't matter what key, I don't know what voice is in. Sometimes it's really good to mess with that kind of stuff. And make sure you've got it in the right kind of tone. So, I think it started feeling a bit better on that last take. It may not be perfect, but that's part of what this is about as well. Like, that's a bit flat. So I'll jump into that halfway through where my voice kind of warmed up a bit. I'm going to try the other take as well. That was up in the key in that. And we'll push this back up to E minor. Jump in. Of course it changes key there, so I think the take I just did before just has a lot more nicety through it, so I'm going to stick with that. We're going to change this down into D. No. So with this, what we're going to start doing is we're going to start cutting it up. I'm going to kill the reverb off this. I don't want any danger in that area. And then we're just going to start creating some rhythms and some other little bits and pieces of what this is. And then we'll just take it from there. So I'm just going to start cutting up into the sample and run it through. I'll just give you a basic rundown. So my take, you've kind of seen up here that we've got 80, and if I jump back to this editor, you can see at the top here I've got S80. So what I'm doing is I'm jumping in to this point here. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to jump through these tones. So there's some clear markers that I can see in here. This program allows you to slice it up. I don't like doing that. The reason being is because then it assigns itself across the keyboard. So C becomes one slice, C sharp becomes another slice, D becomes another slice, D sharp, and you can't kind of manipulate the notes. So what I end up doing is bouncing back and forward between the slices and figuring it out. So yeah, a bunch of stuff like that. So we can see one at 80. We can probably use AD here. So we'll see how it goes. AD. And a lot of times doing this, I'll ramp, put the volume down of the actual instrument. So what that means is I'm typing O in there for out, which is what I did on the other side, and then I put 1 there, or in this case I'll be putting a really high number. We'll keep going through this until we find like a melody or something that's really sticking out to us that we really like. It will not sound like a vocal when we're finished with it, and that's the point we're kind of gonna organically create all these sounds. I'll run this all through kick drums and some other little bits and pieces in a second as well, and I'll talk through that and how I do that process. Hope everyone's evening's gone well. I kind of really like that already. Just going to relax the amount of speed it's voluming down on that last hit. And I'll open that even more. Ooh, oh. Sometimes I have to do that to figure out where that note is. I think it's 4. Jumping ahead. We'll jump a little bit in on that one. Change some of these. Yeah, that's nice. We'll do a little off note just at the bottom. We'll try and see what it does. The pitch. Not much. Oh, pretty stable. There we go. Got a little tiny. Ooh. Just repeating that now. Okay, so I'm going to jump in a little bit further on this last bit. B and then C. Just gonna do a G sharp, G flat. Got a 2-0 on that. Just going to push that last note out. So I'm really enjoying that. One thing that I might do, I'm just going to turn off the vocal pitch shifter. So I'm going to leave it on to kind of trap it in there. Don't really mind that. I'm also going to use a little plug here called Alter Boy. And we're going to create another octave, or we're going to change the formant on it. We'll dip this around. Yeah, so now that once that's in place, let's start creating some other little tones around it. So like I said, I think I'll strip out a held note. And let's try and find one that's really straight. Although that's flat, it doesn't matter, we'll figure that out. And I'll place this here. So this is now a little sample that we can use to kind of figure it out. So let me just run this through in a loop. For now, I'm going to make this loop awful. No. Well, basically, yeah, I'm really in love with really bad loops, which isn't the intention a lot of times, but I love the nostalgia of bad looping. And we won't go for such a bad loop, but maybe maybe we will. So we'll just I was just at the start of the note then, so I'm just gonna hit the start of this note. As you can see, this kind of dips up and goes down like a sine wave, but then it has a flat bottom, and this is quite different. It goes up, peaks a little bit, and then goes down. So this is going to loop very well anyway, because they're not very similar patterns. There's a bunch of things we can do and crossfade into each other. There's a little button here. So I believe that, where is it? Let me just have a look. If I go like this and go crossfade, what do you do? It does a really good job of creating a crossfade and reapplying the loop. And maybe we should just do it for this. Let's select the whole thing, press crossfade. That's actually really fun. Shouldn't press that button. That's really cool. Alright, well, let's not get too carried away in there. See if I can get a different kind of crossfade happening. I actually like the fact that it's really wonky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this into a separate channel. And I've got a tuner, and we're going to tune this by hand. So you can see it kind of rolls up, but it hangs out on that E, and it's really sharp. So what I'm going to do is we're going to fine tune this all the way down. Kind of be around that. Then I'm also going to transpose this. So I think I pressed C, and so I want C to be C. Did I press C4 or C3? 3, so that's great. Really tight. Looping on that. But we do know that this is in Sorry, no, I'm just having fun. So I'm going to use this next instrument to figure out where it kind of rolls from there. And that is incorrect. One thing that I can probably do to help this process actually is this thing called render to sample, and I think just give me a second, I'll just set this up. I'll duplicate this out, and we're going to process this whole entire take through a really strict pitch shift, or else it's just not going to hold up. I reckon that's my flaws. So we're gonna have to turn little altar boy off. So we're going to run that through it all. The problem is the sample is twice as long as what we're cutting through, so we'll have to quickly do some more edits to get the same thing out again. So we've got a little cool thing called render to sample, so it's going to take that whole entire output and it renders it to a clean sample. And we're going to jump in S80 and we're going to do the same thing. So it's jumped in a little bit into it and now it's rendering out another sample. So if I go down here now, copy and paste this over to a new channel, turn this off, put this one in here, and I remap all that. So that is 4. Over here we've got this little remapper, and then we go to 7, remap. It's terrible, but what we can do here is I can now do the same programming that I had before, which is what we're ultimately trying to do. But at least it's really, really hard tuned at the moment, so everything will sit in the right place. So let's just jump through that. And then, okay, so this is going to be that, and it's going to be double the amount, so this is going to be 40. This is going to be, I think, 80. Nope. I think that's going to be 50. And then that is going to be back at 20 or 3. Back at 40 for that one. And then 40 and then back to 20. Let me just try it on 30 there. And I'll loop that around, and then we've got these other notes down here that we've put down to G. Okay, that's great. And then we'll loop that around again, put that there, and then we'll push this down 2 semitones. Okay. And then we're going to go into this sample that's been taken. And this is the more natural one. So we'll go into this and see if we can... And the loop in this is terrible. So I'll go back up here. We're going to take this sample again. We're going to throw it down there. And I'm just going to put a ping back and forward on this one. And don't really mind. It's going to ping very funny, but I really like the out of tune nature of this. But at the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to fix it a bit by tuning it. Sorry, it's going to be on ping pong. Ping pong. So just tuning this down into the right area. We just want to make sure it kind of evenly goes around the O, the 0 in the middle there. Now this little clicking noise it's making and stuff like that, there's ways of smoothing that out. One of them is to do it more correctly. The other is because we're so at the front of this sample, it's likely that it'll loop. Not much has changed. So if we go to the front edge of that moment and we look for a similar one here, I'm just going to move this down to this one here because it's a very similar shape, but we should just see the clicking disappear. It's a really slight click in there. What we'll do is we all know why that's happening. Let me just have a look at this crossfade, how it works. Create a crossfading loop. I wonder if you grab this from this end and press it, what do you do? That's not what I want. I'm going to leave this for now. I can clean this up pretty quickly. It will still have a kind of noise in it, but we'll figure that out in another session. For now, let's just kind of keep that, get this tuner off. And I'm not liking the little da-da on the end of it anymore. So I'm going to change that up a little bit down on the second part. Push that down to A instead and end that there. And I'll just open it up on this last little bit here. But then cut it off before that blurb blurb. And then I might actually kick it back in here and see if there's anything that trails into it. Just a but what if we push this up to tune back to that, add another channel to glide it. We glide it up really quickly and then we get rid of this guy. You, and then we make you go up to 80. Nothing hits in. Better. Okay. So now we've got this kind of droney tone going on here. Just listening for some chords to see how it's going. Keen Sky, how you going, man? How's the demo party? Is it still going on? Gonna put a little effects channel there. We're going to do little plate. I'm gonna throw everything over to this guy. I'm actually gonna go in here and go to basics, and we're going to do a air plate. We'll send this guy out there and we'll fix up that air plate in a second. Keep source on. I actually really like the clickiness of that now. I'm going to put in a little EQ setup in there. Let's roll this up. Actually, I got this in my favorites. Why do I keep typing it? Neutron. Just get this compressor down in there. Then I'm also going to slightly add another vibrato kind of setup to this as well. So it's going to have two little oscillating frequencies in there. Plus, we're going to glide everything in these setups. So let's have a look at how this works. See how low we can go. It's like Shadow of the Beast now. Jay, how you doing, man? Did you guys get some rain? So we'll roll up the G on this one as well. So G is a glide functionality. Yeah, we got a bit of rain here too. How's Sunday be treating ya? So I'm just going to let this settle in a little bit. I'm going to open up another passage, or the next part of this will open up into another tone. Oh, thank you so much, man. Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, I'm hoping to. I've talked to the new band guys I work with, and they're really keen. So that would be so neat. I'll have to do a show in the Ukraine as well. Hey, Keen Sky. Do it. Hope you have a good dinner. Don't know where this is going, but I'm just like listening to notes as they kind of roll out. No way. I bet he's awesome. Gonna throw an effects rack on here. Kind of bury this a little bit, a little high end, do a little roll off on it. You know how I feel about high end stuff, not my favorite. You could read my mind, Keen Sky. So I think either resolve that tension or leave it in at the beginning of that next part. I'm gonna add a bass in now. So with that bass, we're gonna duplicate out the sample I've kind of cut up, but I might actually grab a different part of my vocal take for this bass part. Let's see what we got. I feel like I need to fix this, so I am going to... Do they have enough tools in here to fix this? Okay, let's just have a look. Probably the best way to solve this is to compress down the amount of moments it's looping, so let me just pull this over even tighter and see what it does. Love it when that does that. Just feel like I need that to be a little bit longer, so I'll add another 4 into there. So that's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. just double check that it's tuned. Last thing you want is it to be out of tune. Is it morning at the moment? Is the demo party in Ukraine? Where is it? Oh, wow. Just gonna quickly create a sample here. Let's just put this in. Are you using Notch for this demo? Have you seen this? Oh, I don't know where it is. Bent sent me this. I am so sorry, Ben. I still haven't opened this, and I look at it every day, and I think of you. I will. I just learnt Unity, and I've been smashing through Unity so much, and I have to get my head wrapped around what this is, so. This is so cool. Haven't checked out Notch, you should check out Notch. A little ad. Yeah, I just place it everywhere. It's like little advertising. Okay, so that's tuned in place. What we'll do is we've just got this other tone I'm going to introduce in here. So what I want to do is I want to normalize everything in this one. So just give me a second. So it's 2 semitones up, 2 semitones down. Done. I just want to get an idea of the bass kind of tone in here. I'm going to put the normal kind of setup where I slowly turn it down. I won't turn it down too fast, and I am also going to vibrato it. You could set this up in the modulation, you knock yourself out. I just prefer to do all this stuff in channel. And this is a really slow song already. I'm actually really liking it. This I need to change. We need to knock it down 2 semitones. Okay, so we'll have to do something with this. We'll put in this other track. I love the way this chord opens up. It feels a little bit damaged, so I'm just going to just gonna listen to this for a little bit. Okay, so super interesting stuff. So the next thing we're going to do, just going to turn off track 3 here. And that's way too. Turn that off. And there was another layer that we'd stuck on there, so let me just copy and paste that across. This is a track 3, and we'll move that up. Turn it on. So let's kill 4, turn that off. So the next thing we're going to do is this track is kind of like really subtly slow and it's a bit dirgy, which is fine. It may not be a track that I end up kind of connecting with, but I kind of want to develop out more to see if it's got more things that it can kind of throw at me. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to stay true to the promise where I'm going to create drum beats from the actual vocals that we've got and just show you the process involved with that. Sometimes adding beats and other little bits to this kind of help the structure so much more. And I do love these, that ethereal tone here, like that. It's kind of cool. just tidying them up a little bit. Okay, so we'll go over to track 7. I'm going to duplicate this. We're going to quickly downshift it. Now one thing I like to do, let's see if I can do it. I run both of them together. See? So D goes down, and if you put it in the panning channel as well, it does it double the fun. Yeah, Neutron is amazing. Check this out. Like it allows is it this one? I think it's their other one. On the equalizer, it actually has all the notes. So something about seeing the notes on the EQ is just like, it's groundbreaking for me. Yeah, let me just see. There you go. And you can kind of be like, oh yeah, I've saturated this tone on the actual keyboard, and I can kind of move it around, because I think people get really confused over how the spectrum works, and it's just like, no, it's just a series of notes, bro. And it's just harmonics and a bunch of other things that kind of mess with it. And so when you kind of can articulate things in a bit more of a real way like that, something about it just clicked even more. It uses machine learning as well, which is really fun. Like, it gets you probably like 50 to 60% there, and the rest of the time you're just kind of tweaking it out. But it's averaged out. It kind of knows what the bass is, and then you can actually tell it, hey, look at this channel, I want you to duck around it, and it'll sculpt and use that at the same time. And I'm excited about where ML stuff's going in general anyway, but it allows you to get to what you want to do, which is create from your angle. So yeah, I love Isotope. I'm not even a spokesperson for them, but I just like them. So we've got a little bass tone there, very soft in the mix. There's a bunch of things we're going to do to kind of bring that up. One is we're going to actually bring in this Neutron setup, and I am going to let it run itself over the top of it. I'm going to get this kick hitting in for every single one of them, and so this is using my vocal sample. Yeah, full multiband compression through those. It also has a second compressor that's a more vintage. Well, it has. They can be run in vintage mode or non-vintage mode, but it has 2 compressors in the chain. And then a transient shaper, an exciter, which is incredible, and then a gate. But you can rearrange these in any order you want. But I used to use Alloy. I've got that here, and this it's really similar, but it's so good. Well, it's super similar, except they've got a de-esser in this, but now they've combined, they've updated Nectar, which is what I use for my vocals, and it's insane. So yeah, that's really all it is, isn't it? Yeah. It even has I don't think it's got it on this one. It's got a mode. It's got a mode when you bypass it, it matches the levels, so you're actually listening to the bypass. A lot of plugins don't even have that, and you're just like, oh, okay, so I didn't really change anything, I just made it louder. So it's one of those things, you know, those illusions that's created where everyone's like, see, it's much better. It's like, yeah, I think you just turned it up, man. And that's like does my head in, but it's a really cool idea. So I am going to run it through. The louder is way better all the time. We'll do balanced and we'll do medium intensity. So I'm going to let the ML stuff run over the top of this kick pattern. but at the same time it finished, so it didn't know that it was listening to anything. So let's just cancel out of that, and let's press it again. So down here it's saying it knows that that was a drum percussion, and then it's applying what it understands about it a little bit better. So it's kind of pulled the bottom end in, pulled some of these frequencies out. The volume's not there, which I'm just about to re-put with this compressor because we'll just drive the gain. And then, nice. Added some warmth in there. And a tiny little bit on the head there. Nice idea. And then I'm just going to check out the rest of these frequencies. I'm not in love with this, you know, I think this is a 3500 hertz area where it's pulled out. So I'm actually going to roll off this whole thing. I think it's a really sub kick. Doesn't need any of that. Which means the exciter's not doing anything, so we'll just turn that channel off. And if the compressor's fine, I'll actually roll this compressor in. So I'm happy with that tone made from my vocals. So we'll call this kick. Move that all the way over here. Okay, the next track we're going to kind of make a snare noise. It's going to happen pretty similarly. And I'm going to get rid of all of this. Oh, one other thing I'm just going to put on this effects chain. I just want to make sure it's not too heavy. Is this drum shaper, and we're going to run it in kick mode. And I'll quickly just loop this around. It's another transient kind of shaper, but it's made, the algorithm's made specifically for kick drums. Make it a smooth tone. We're going to make it sustain a bit more. Roll the kick in, the attack of it. And I love how it's got a mojo button. Wow. Really appreciating the attack being really short on that. This is how tight it's becoming. So to me that feels a little bit more delayed, so I'm really happy with that. I might just adjust the off on that to be a little bit slower at the head and then really fast here. But maybe just for the first couple. Okay, well, I'll leave this as it was, and then we'll mess with that later when we start putting that instrumentation together. So snare wise, using this instrument, me going, ah. First of all, let's just and we'll put some lo-fi. It's really nice. So I'm just cutting off the sample, but I think I'm going to keep it really tight. I'm really like tight setups at the moment, and I'll just bring this down. It's not much of a snare, but that's okay. So I'm going to listen to these with the synth track on, which I've not named anything, which is terrible. So let's just put this in as synth or vocal. We'll better call these different. Synth. And this is low in the mix, don't forget, so we'll just run another neutron over the top of that. And we'll compress that. Just gonna run this in a routine. Solo this. And let's just have it hit every beat. That's a really nasty and awesome snare. Just need to shape it so that the low end's kind of not ruining our lives. Where's this guy? I'll scoop this in. And then that way we can kind of shape this to be tight or not tight, which I like. Just listening to the way that's working. I think we're all set with that. Well, we won't put the transient shape over it. I'll run this other drum shaper over it. It's got a little snare algorithm. So we'll get it to do a nice attack. Just gonna go back here and adjust the low end. And then let's go up the octave. Okay, that's cooler. Okay, I'm really happy with that. So we've got a couple of options to open it up if we need to. Okay. And then I might just re-look at the drum shaper and get a little bit more of the attack back in it. All right, so I'm going to put on, which was track 3, so this is the vocal cut up. I'm going to do a straight beat to start with and see what kind of hits out. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. So this is using the one vocal sample to generate all of this stuff. So that's what we were trying to do with this thing. All the kicks, all the snares, all of it's been generated from the same setup. Some really minimal effects, but using a bunch of ramps here. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add like a little hi-hat kind of movement. I've just basically copied the snare idea across, and then we'll octave this up a little bit higher. But we're really going to cut into this. And we will need to place a lo-fi mat over the top of this. Crank the noise up. So it's better. Better. Hey Jerry, how you doing? Thank you so much, Jerry. I really appreciate the follow. I love renoise as well, yeah. Rocker Ras. I hope I said it right. Thank you so much for the follow. I'm just a happy person. How you doing? So from here, we'll just add this little hi-hat pattern that I've made. So this is pitch shifting up the vocal. And we've kept this really straight, really simple. And I'll start messing with it in a second, but I'll just show you the vocal cut up over the top of it. It's a little bit less syncopated. So what's missing from here is just some volume kind of things. I'm going to move all these C1, all this cut stuff that I've placed in there, and I'm going to just move it over to the pan channel. If we're going to pan, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Oh, awesome, man. Well, if you've got any questions, just please hit me up. Thanks for dropping in, Jerry. So we're just going to cut these really short. Yeah, that's right. I'm doing it manually. Be tapping away. So what I'm going to do over here is just create some variation in terms of volume going on in there. So I will also do another thing where I'm just going to quickly just shrink this pattern down. It's so straight-laced. I'm gonna keep it pretty airy, because it's going to allow to do some different kind of things for it. So I'll just show you one little idea. We're going to add the delay channel, so that's Control-Shift-D, and then so what's happening here, we're running it at 85 beats per minute, and that's slow. So when you're trying to do really quick setups, you have to start delaying notes in areas to create the other ticks, if that makes sense. The other thing we can do is run this at double speed and expand the whole thing out. So there's a bunch of options for doing that. I'm not going to do that until it becomes super necessary. And so what I'll do is I'll work around those little bits and pieces. Oh, thanks. So you can see as I'm moving that, don't forget it's in hexadecimal, so this would bring it forward. A nice little swing there. So I might actually leave that in. Happy little accident. Bob Ross apparently. And then I'm going to bring this one forward. So, and then with this one I'm going to slightly open it up a little bit, so we're going to use C2 or C3 for that. And then I'm also going to add, see this one back here, down here, and I'm going to delay that 80. I'm going to push that to A instead. Not enjoying that, so I'm going to just leave it as straight. Ooh, that's too straight. Let's do 40. Actually, I will just leave that straight. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some little volume differences through it. So yeah. Oh, I'm glad you found that, Jerry. Yeah, running on Windows 10. I know what I'm doing, right? So I want this one to be kind of loud. And then that one to be at 80, and then we'll put this one down just a half there. Now I'm just going to loop this through. And instead I'm just going to create a slight little variation. I'm going to delete one of the ticks there. I'm just going to have a listen to what that did. So that's great. That's what I was hoping it would do. Kind of just shuffle things up a bit. Last thing I'm going to do here is with this kick, you can see there is so much going on with this. Reason being is it's running so slow that I've got to slide this down, and then I have to slide it again across these two channels just to get this to sound like a kick drum, whereas it starts sounding more like a tom. When I add another note in here, I'm going to do that because I'm going to add the delay channel in, and I'm going to delay this by 80 because I just want another kind of triple kick kind of coming in. But we'll have a listen to see if that's exactly what we're after. So I really like that. I am going to just kind of slightly volume that in. So we'll do 50 and then we'll do 70. Let's just listen to the end of that. Alright, so I'm just going to copy and paste this whole pattern. I didn't do that. I'll bring that down over here. Maybe I did. And maybe I don't like it over that second part, so let's just shuffle it back. Yeah, so Jerry, this, from the beginning of the stream, what I did was I sung in a vocal hook over some really ordinary chords that I structured together. Then with that vocal hook, I've just started pulling it apart, manipulating it, and all this other stuff. So this kick drum is made from me, from a vocal take, and the snare is made from a vocal take, and the hi-hats are made from a vocal take as well. So I just kind of showed how you know, Renoise is amazing at kind of manipulating everything from scratch. Yeah, so this in real time, we've got here that it's just this D slides this down, and all the kick is you know, frequency shifting from high to low really quickly, and then determining how you do that or what speeds you do it at creates different kick noises. So using any sample to put it through. But there's a bunch of plugs that hang over the top of it, so I'm also using this little drum shaper. This is amazing, and the algorithm's just created for dealing with that stuff, and plus it has a little bus on there that helps. But I was just talking through, I'm not using Renoise's standard setups for this. I did in the last RPM, but I think I might do one song where I just use only Renoise's setups. I've just gotten so used to using Neutron and Alloy and some other little plugins. So not 100% purist, but I'm okay with that. I've got to try and get 10 songs done in the month of February for this RPM challenge, so I'm sticking with what I know. And later on I can get all snobby. So now that that's kind of in place, what I want to do is, we've got a bunch of other things happening on the other tracks that we've kind of built up, and oh, thanks Jerry. We've got the vocal cut up over here, but we've also got this synth that was created from all of the ooze. So I'm just going to turn that on. We're going to have a listen to it. I think next to that is the hand-drawn bass that we kind of put in. So let's have a listen to that running together, because this was really slow and more like a dirge, just really slow, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. Like, the drum beat doesn't feel like it connects with that at all. It feels really separate. Not that that's a bad idea, but I just am not happy with that. I think the hi-hats aren't doing much to help that. So I'm just listening to it and just trying to figure out what to do with that. And then the thing that's kind of tying it together is this vocal cut up that we've got. So one thing I might do is, I'm just going to duplicate this whole thing out and forget we even wrote that other part. And then I'll run through and we'll get this bass pulled in a little bit closer. I'll just move that over. I'll name that channel. And let's just work on getting some, like a rhythm or something that kind of works with that, that helps us describe more in the way that that's working. Thank you, Jerry. Alright, so one thing we're going to quickly do with this is, I'm going to see how often we can trigger off the bass without it sounding dumb. Just trying to figure out what these loops kind of take before I adjust the beats per minute on this. There's something about the tone. I'm happy with randomly loading up Renoise and being like, what are you going to throw at me this time? But yeah, it's feeling a little bit... Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's got a really nice organic-y kind of vibe about it. I've run a nice delay over it, and I've also, like, I'll just pull over to that channel now. Oh, that's the wrong one. I've doubled it with this. I've changed the format, so it's got this kind of like tone. Got a bit of a drive on it, and then it's mixed a little not. But it kind of gives it an octave up, and then you can kind of see over here this analog filter. I'm not really into high-end. When an instrument kind of presents itself in the high-end frequencies, I want to make sure that we really know what it's doing. So I've kind of rolled this off a bit, but I've boosted the tones here, which that, for me, I feel like finger picking and all that kind of other stuff would get picked up on those kind of frequencies. This will also allow me to kind of sneak it out underneath if I want to kind of creep it out. What I might do before I even do this though is I might just gel all this stuff together. I'm just gonna put what I mean stuff, the drum beat, snare and all that. I'm just going to gel this together and run it through a little chain here. I've just been talking about slightly cheating, and let's not call it that at all. We're going to use the track assist here to help get these frequencies in the right place, and then we'll go by ear and we'll figure out whether this ML stuff is kind of working. I recorded it straight into Renoise. I'll record some more vocals in a sec as well. Once we've kind of got this to a certain point, I'll sing another melody over the top of it as well. Yeah, if you stick around, probably be in about 15 minutes time, I reckon. So that immediately has kind of risen everything through. The other thing I like to do is run my drums through an amp. So there's a bunch of different amp options. One is sitting in Sound Toys, which I recently picked up, and they emulate so much amazing analog equipment. So we can kind of see here that we can drive the output, and we're going to get a really nice soft vibe going on. And one more thing we'll just do before that finishes is I'm just going to put a really small amount of reverb through it. I don't want too much, and I'm going to have to listen to this in isolation. It's going to be really short duration and a bit of color. We won't run this through an effects sense because I just want it to be tiny and to kind of damage with the way that it's getting driven into this amp. And then from here we'll turn the volume down because it's a little loud. But thanks for sticking through that. Actually like it really high up. I'll just leave it up there for now. Actually, let's turn it down. So we're just going to work on a little bass pattern through here. So I'm going to pause for a moment and let my brain think through some of this stuff that's going on. And I'm just going to put my headphones on and see if I can hear it differently in there. Just going to quickly run over to the synths that we've got set up from the OO that we looped and sampled and kind of run through. I'm just going to duplicate that whole entire channel so that I can keep this original take that's on there without losing the effects that I kind of set up. I'll delete all of this stuff because it's just down there. There's something about that delayed bass coming in that I'm going to strengthen with these chord progressions that I'm going to just hit through in a second. Could be an absolute bad idea, but my brain's just grabbed onto something. I'm like, oh, maybe this could actually work. Again, don't have to love or hate this song yet. We're just sitting here on the other end, just reflecting on how the notes are presenting itself, what it is. We're not forcing it to be anything. Just kind of listening to space and sound and figuring everything out in between it. Maybe something that I ditch. Try that. I'm going to quickly just turn the volume of it down. So it's got a nice little hit. Put one there. Gonna delay that a little bit. Put that there. I think because there's so much space in this song, it can take a lot of like anti-syncopation where you just are constantly like changing things up. You got such a straight beat. It's almost laughable, but the next things that are going to really affect it is the tone and those kind of little moments to make it feel less dorky, if I can use it as a word. I'm a nerd at heart, so I can use it, right? And I think right on that hit, I'll hit out another chord, and this chord will change variations. Was that on? I think that was there. No, it was one more beat down. Okay. And then I'll throw that there. And then we're going to loop this around, and then we're going to change the chords up. So let's get these chords changing up a bit. Just going to try them down the octave. I think I'm going to have to invert them. Inverting them is probably the only terminology I know from music theory. But it is so if it would basically be doing this, you'd grab this and drop that down the octave. But what I'm going to do is grab all of it and put it down the octave. So inverting a chord is basically grabbing one end of it and lowering it down because it's too high up in the frequency range for me. So I'm just want to move it down a little bit. There's something about that just sits all in the mid-tone that's a bit nicer for me. I'm going to just turn up the original. Just going to look at this and just make sure that it's getting outputted correctly. So we can leave this kind of lingering on this chord. It kind of feels like it works. The bass kind of carries it in a certain nice way. When we get into mixing, what we'll need to do, and I can just quickly write this down as a note. Let me just flick over to this mode really quickly. I'm just going to take some notes on it. With the bass, I need to look at octave hitting and so that's the idea, that I need more frequencies in the high end, so that the listener kind of gets more description of where that movement's going, if I'm going to let the chords linger on the exact same chords every single time. What I'm going to quickly do, copy and paste that, up one, and then I'm going to change the chords and see if that feels nice. And that one there, I think, is the one that we really want to look at changing to get into the lead-in. Just have a look at the next chord we're doing before we do this. So I think that's going to be a nice chord to go to. And if that's the case, then what? This is just a really mathematical way to look at it. I'm going to look at the two relationships between this, and we can kind of see a bunch of little things shuffle, but we can see that the F is going to remain the same, which is cool. We could see that this is going to shift to the A sharp, so maybe leaving that is fine. So this is the only other option we can do, maybe as a passing note. So maybe pulling that up might work. I don't know. Let's just have a listen. We just want a hint that something's going to change. I'm going to just solo that. I think it's too subtle. It's actually really nice though. So I feel like because of that, this structure here should change, and what we should do instead is you can kind of see how inverting it's going to work now. We've got E and F, we've got E and F here, and if this went up an octave, then the relationship between those two would be pretty good. So if I just, I didn't need to do that, but I'll just do that as a working example. And then you can kind of see that that's kind of going to roll up a little bit. This passing one feels nice. The other thing I'm going to do with this passing chord is I'm going to open it up, not put the shutdown on the volume on it. I'm going to let it kind of open out just a little bit more and see if that works really well. And then we just need one more chord, and I don't think this needs to relate to it looping around. I think it can just be its own little thing. So if we're doing, I'm just going to turn off edit mode. So that's the chord I'm doing. So I'll do that one there, see how that feels, and I'll leave this one open as well. Could be a huge mistake. Put everything on. Don't know how I feel about it. I feel like this should go back down again. I feel like building it up leads to something else around the corner, and it's not nice enough. The other thing is I think this should go the opposite way round. I think we should cut this off too soon. So I'm just going to do a cutoff here, and we'll make this C8 across the board. See what it does. Slight volume. A little bit shorter, and I feel like this could almost take this really quick like noise on this chord as well. So let's just have a look at that. We'll do it with the root note. It's going to require us to put the delay channel in, and if we did that 1 2 3 4 wow. Okay, let's just add one more in here. And we're going to cut these really short. We're going to have them all at once. So this is a problem when we're working with, what do you call it? A track that doesn't have ticks. So I've delayed that by 40. The next one will be delayed by 80. And the next one will be delayed by 8. And that should fire up E really quickly 4 times. No volume control. I might need to move all the cutoffs to the panning channel. Just added the panning channel. So we'll put those over there so that we can define that in. I'll just have a listen. It may not be able to take this, and then it's just an idea that we'll quickly delete. So I actually really like that. I think the cutoffs are happening too soon, but it's kind of got that really like kind of nice lead in, and everything kind of cuts without it being too much. So I think if I just put OFF on this side, kill all of these, we should hear all of the notes play out, and then that one should roll through it. Delays are all in place, and then the volume is what will now affect the amount of time it will cut off. So if we do 40, 60, and then we'll do 70 and leave the last one. I think that would be really awesome. Awesome. So I'll run this one down on this last one here as well, but we'll make it F, although we're about to push this back down, so we could almost loop this back in, and then we'll have a look at what's causing it to cause clicking noises. Thanks, Jerry. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to place my headphones on. I'm going to head into recording mode. I'm just going to see if there's any notes or anything that I can hear vocally, and see whether I can push this into a different direction or get some inspiration from that. In a moment, if that really works out, we'll pivot from that and create some more things. But we'll see how we go. Just give me a second and I'll set up the vocals on there. Oh, Cameron. Still have such a crush on Buzz. I have so many folders on folders on folders of Buzz material. There was something so amazing about just the way that worked. Yeah. Such a big fan. Do you still open up Buzz now and then, or do you like using Renoise? Yeah, Buzz was another tracker. It was it allowed you to create your instrumentation by hand. Like it had a bunch of I guess you could call it VSTI plugins in the back that you would throw around, but you had access to everything and it was all integrated into the one thing. It operated a little bit differently. Yeah, wow, I've not heard of those two. I will check them out. Just looking for where I put my vocal setups. Apparently they're gone. So I'll just quickly set up another chain. There might be a little residue of feedback that's going to happen. My apologies. I tried to cut it off a little bit early before it happened, but I'm just going to stick this into record mode. I don't know how I'm going to go around this, so I'm just going to, as quick as pie, try and figure this out. But that feedback is going to get worse and worse. So if everyone just wants to turn down the speakers for a second, that is crazy. So I'm doing a very similar thing. Sorry, Twitch chat. Let's just get... Okay. Whew. And then let's make sure that we're on the right channel. We're an 8. Yeah, it's feedbacking the whole entire song into itself again, which is usually not what you want to do. I might be on the wiki page for Buzz. I think I used it way too much. Like I was saying, I have folders and folders and folders of Buzz stuff, and I tried to open them up the other day to look at the ideas, and nothing opens up anymore. And I guess it's just one of those things that you just let go. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It was such a hacky program that I was so upset that when it kind of lost support and they got it picked up and it became this other wacky thing, I'm just like, oh, I need something more stable. So when Noise came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick with this. It looks like it's gonna be a little bit more solid. So yeah. Yeah, that's right. How do you say that? I was saying booze all the time instead of buzz. Which people thought I was, yeah, saying booze. Alright, I'm going to jump into record mode. You won't be able to hear me. I'll answer questions when I get back out of this. And it could be a disaster, but this is what this all is about. Check. So basically doing a bunch of little vocal hooks and different bits and pieces that was kind of just inspired by listening to that. And what I do from here now is I kind of just keep organically growing it, build chord progressions back under the parts that I just thought was really neat. So I'm just going to do that. It'll probably be about 30 more minutes or so to get it to a point. So yeah, we'll see how we track with that. There was a couple of things in there that I just didn't expect I could throw at it and it would take. It seems I may need to sing in a kind of semi-cooler vibe, but also a little bit janky and old, like disco-y or in this kind of weird tone for it to kind of adhere a little bit nicer. But you know, there's a ton of different things that we could throw at it to see how that goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly put the speakers on. Unfortunately, this will cause a little bit of phasing. My apologies in advance. I do like to mix without headphones on for as long as possible, but I mix pretty low, so we've got that right. Alright, so first thing we need to do right away with all of these samples is just make sure auto seeker's on, and the little button next to it's really important too for jumping through, so that we can kind of jump through these notes and kind of make that happen. Thanks, mod. That's what I meant by being a little bit old, like the staying alive kind of tone. But I think it could take it. Like it just has this really dorky but cool vibe about it. It feels lovable. It could be a throwaway song. Who cares? We should just develop it out. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit more. Turns out I'm lying when I say I need a little bit softer. I don't. I need a little bit louder. Turns out. Okay, so let's run. That is not the right channel. Did you know middle mouse button mutes channels? Huh? I just found that out. Like, see that? Off. On. Didn't even know that. Okay, what channel is 11? I know you get. Also, completely made up lyrics. I do not know what I'm singing. Part of this is just getting shapes in place. So later on we'll go through and when something sticks I'll try and shape tones into it. So right now, if you're like, I wonder what he's saying, I have no idea either. I just kind of make shapes. That's okay. I am not really into it. I think we can do a little bit better than that. Is that the Bee Gees moment everyone's talking about? I actually really like that. So I really like that too. There's a artist ages back, still releasing stuff, Bat for Lashes. If you get a chance to listen to Daniel, really cool song. It's kind of really reminiscent of how everyone started doing the really beautiful, gonna lose it, Rihanna, who is that band? Anyway, an amazing band. And I've forgotten their name. That's how amazing they are. But yeah, Bat for Lashes, the artist from that, she was doing a bunch of amazing material. So this Fleetwood Mac, thank you so much. But mod, thank you. Yeah, so I am full of shame. But you know, this has a kind of broken up variation on that, and I think if I run some different chords and move some different bass stuff underneath it, that'll be great. I am going to quickly tune this, so it's alright. I don't mind. Judgment can begin, but I use whatever tools I can to try and get things across the line, and then when things are near the end, we do all these beautiful takes to make it great. I'm gonna get the vocal cut up off now. So I'm going to duplicate this out. I'm going to delete all of the chords that we just stuck in. I'm going to mute the bass, and I'm going to reconstruct some chords now that will hold. I just want to get an idea of where this melody can, what it can take and what it's doing. To do that, I'm going to have to turn this down. Run a slight vibrato in the corner. This is 7/1. I'm going to mute our whole entire kit. Just gonna mess with some chords. Same rhythm as before. Now look at it. Just turn this last one down, yeah. Just gonna strip the bass out, find some root notes that go underneath it. I'm just gonna quickly also duplicate this because I feel like the chord progression is gonna run over to be a turnaround of 8 instead of a turnaround of 4. So just getting prepared, preparing myself for the spontaneity, which is not how spontaneity works, right? That just came in. and stole everything. We'll just delete it. I want to understand so bad. Okay, so we'll open up the second part of that. That's not the right note. Thanks, Jerry. And I'll re-sing this through because I think it's got to be something like when I want I get away. Oh, and something in this tone that kind of flips it back down. When I run, I wanna away. It's so slow, the song, though. I'm still committed. I think the hi-hats need to then switch up. Run away, I get hard on this side. I'll quickly just jump into vocal takes to see if I can get something in there. But I'm liking the way that's kind of hitting me. Don't know where that would appear in the movement or in the song, but we're creating it so we can decide when and where that's going to happen. So. I'll leave those two alone. I know that I need to breathe a little bit differently to get that last note. It's right on what they call the falsetto change, where you kind of can sing a normal voice and then you can sing in this. Well, I guess people are calling it the Bee Gee voice. Damn, no. So yeah, let's. It's a high registry. That's what it is. Made famous by a bunch of Australian guys. So I'm just going to place these in. Okay, so let's just roll that through. I'm going to go to the sample here, make sure auto seek's on, so anytime I'm running forward, we can run through that. And then I'm going to place this vocal in. And then I'll just whack that on. I'm actually going to duplicate the channel. I'm getting ready for the next, the high part that I'm going to be putting in.
When I strive, I get away, staking claims I'll never dream, I'll never see. I'm almost high.
Just going to adjust the speed of that, because or else it sounds really dumb.
When I strive, I get away, staking claims I'll never dream, I'll never see, I'll never see it. When I strive, I get away, staking claims I'll never dream, I'll never see, I'll never see it.
So in the other channel, I think I'm going to stick, before I do that, stick a little slight delay over that, but I'm going to use that as a send. Duplicate, add a send channel. Let's just duplicate the send channel, it's easier. Get rid of the thing, call it send to, and we'll make it a delay. Whoa, capital Y. And then on here, just gonna do little. Okay, so we'll go straight into the effect rack. In here, we're going to use this Echo Junior. Place this in here. It's going to be 100% wet mix. We'll place this on Plex for now. Very beautiful Echo. And we'll just see. I don't want it to be too much, and I think I want it to be really big, but we'll see. Big by delay standards. I need to name my channels. Let's put vocal, and we'll put a send on there. We'll send this out to cost channel 2. So we'll keep source so that we can hear it. Loop that around again. Thanks, Cameron. I've got some. This is my eighth song, so that I've been working on since yesterday. Oh no, since the first. So I've got some nice little drum moments. I hope. So I'm gonna bring this high part in now. It kind of fills a void in the background, and then I feel like we're gonna put some little harmonies running through it as well. So put vocal high in there. I'm gonna send it to the so you can hear it like way in the background now. That's kind of where I felt it in my hand. The idea would be they do what they're doing there where they're apart, and then when they come when it hits in at the end, they all kind of come together and they kind of harmonize out. So it worked perfectly. And all I need to do is I kind of like this. This is me feeling super embarrassed that it didn't work out. I don't know if I looked up at you guys' chat, but I was like, I can't. I'm not singing this well. So part of the issue, sitting down. The other issue is, I usually don't talk as I write music. So it's such a different thing to do. But I wanted to make sure that when people dropped in or they just dropped in chat, they understood what was going on. So I'll just mute this now. I think there's a little boop button that just gets rid of sounds. One thing that you can kind of do to clean stuff up is all of this is breathing. So we could just zero all these out. It saves us running a gate over all of this stuff. We don't really need to. But maybe you want it to be super emotional and have all this stuff in. I just want these to kind of be reverbs without too much effort. Okay, so we've got the hi-hats in. I'm just going to listen to them in the players. I'll never see. I'll never see. Okay, so that's kind of all sitting together. The only last little bit we've got this a vocal cut up. So I'll turn this up in the mix. I'll just mute all the other stuff now. You can kind of see that that just doesn't fit in anymore. But it does fit in on these grooves. If we come down here, this is another melody part we just didn't finish up. Here's something else. That was dreadful. That's because we've got these this track 8 on, which shouldn't be there anymore. So this is using the first chords I created from that moment. And I don't mind that chord progression. And then we'll come back to what we just kind of wrote after, you know, spending a long time kind of working with it. So where it kind of ended up for me feels a little bit better than when it started. It's a small loop of something, and it's something that's an idea that I think we can use. The other thing that I think that this song really needs, we really need to figure out is the speed of it. So, sure, that's still relevant. Speed change. I feel like maybe 10 or even 15 more beats per minute will take it out of it feeling like a bit of a chore. Even when this is in there, I feel like this part, without this high part, which is a column response kind of idea, without that in it, it feels really slow. So it kind of drags a little bit, but ultimately we'll listen back to it in a couple of days once we've got a bunch of stuff together to figure out whether that's really working for us or not. And maybe that's part of the charm of just what this is. And I kind of, if we take it on, I'd really want to honor the way that that's working. I am going to take an ear break. I think it's been 3 hours. And what's the time here? It's 10. What should I do? I think what I might do is, we'll write some notes. This is song 8. That we've been working on, Jerry. What I might do is, I can take you through the songs that we've kind of put together. I've got them sitting up at the moment on SoundCloud, and maybe we can go through those that together. I'll just I don't think there's any other notes. The last thing I might just do is just quickly write down the lyrics that I'm kind of hearing in this song. And then yeah, we can kind of figure that out together from the shapes that we're doing. So I'll just play along and we'll put this in a loop. Claims I never dreamed, I never see. I'm almost So with the high vocal, I'll just play it by itself. It doesn't, at the moment this makes no sense. That's the whole point of it. Oh my goodness, Ultra Blue, did you just wake up, dude? I think you may have just missed one song. or two. I don't know. I've only done this. Will be my third song for the day, or third idea, we should say. So, yeah, I can run through them all. Let's do that. I'll finish up with this, and then I'll pull up the. I'll just pull up the songs, and we'll just play through them one by one. For recording this out tonight, what I'll do is I'll just repeat this part. And what's this? We'll start off with this part for it, just so that we've got it. I'll turn the vocal cut up bits off for this chorusy part. And then I'll kill the hi-hats. I did. It's a vocal cut up I'll get rid of. Oh, awesome. Think if I can endorse helping jet lag, that would be so great. I'll just quickly save this song off. What are we up to? 8. Oh, let's not overwrite 7. I didn't even save this yet. Ooh, let's not talk about it. And then we'll save this as song 02 here. Getting ready. We'll just render out this little part. What is the other section? Okay, so we've got this other chord progression. Let me just throw this at the start of it. I don't really think it's worthy of anything, but that's just me. Okay, so I'm just going to bounce this down now. So render song to disk. I'll go to RPM 8. Let's get rid of this last bit. I don't need it anymore. Alright. So, what we've got is, we'll pull up the notes. Just put the lyrics into it. And then we've got the notes. Speed change. Look at speeding this up. So we've kind of only got one awesome little moment for it, which kind of makes me a little sad. But at the same time, that's what this is all about. I've also got to bounce out song 3, which I totally ditched yesterday for no reason. I just didn't like it. But that's not the point of this. The point is, I really have to put all of them out there, and so that's what I'll do, regardless of feelings. And so even this one for me, oh, actually, I better stop this because I'll just quickly go back into writing mode. There's a since I'm running these tracks into each other, I just noticed here I've got the string parts and there's no note off, which means that they will hang for days, which is pretty ugly for the rest of the track. So let me just quickly turn those off. I'll just listen to it and just make sure. Just gonna make sure nothing else hangs out. I am Monza. I'm posting them to my webpage. I just haven't done that yet. But they are all on SoundCloud, and they will all be playlists of every day. So you can kind of see the work progress through there. On the website, I have a feeling I'll tag them correctly so that you can kind of get the ones that you need here and there. So yeah. Okay, so that's ready to be bounced, so let me do that. Wow. Okay, so, yep, look at speed change, that's a good thing to do. Oh, look at that, it's kind of gone off the page on that screen. Alright, speed change, look at speeding things up, awesome. We'll kind of run with that. Okay, so what I'll do is, let's work backwards. We'll go to song 7, then we'll go to song 6 and back from there, and we'll go through them all. And then I think, so that I'm kind of fresh for tomorrow, I might call it a night. I was hoping to get 9 songs done. So, I'm doing this challenge, this RPM challenge, and I work a 9 to 5 job. So I'll only be doing this after hours and then cramming in as much as I can on the weekends. I may get some spotty days here and there, but I think this week I will be on one of the days, but I won't be working on RPM challenge, and I'll say as such I'll be working on another piece of music that I'm working on with for an artist called Parker. So I'll just double check with her, but then you'll just see in my streams that there will be a random day where I'll start earlier, and I'll do a similar thing where I'll break it up in 2 sessions, and then I'll break for dinner, and then I'll go straight into an RPM session, and we'll do that, which should be pretty exciting. Her stuff, I would dare say that it's a direct hybrid of what I'm doing here, except her voice is dynamite. Like it's just got this really nice, beautiful tone about it. It's very dreamy and fairy in these nice, really beautiful ranges. So we work together really well. Alright, so that's completely bounced down. Let's have a look at song 7. So these are the lyrics. The theme for song 7 is about struggles. So, and that, like, from what you've known, I just kind of make shapes, and what kind of comes out happens. So I'm going to stick with that theme. That's kind of the vibe that I got from the track. So we'll have a listen to it, and you can kind of see that it's down there now. I think this is the full bounce here. So we'll listen to it from start to finish. I think you missed out on this one, Ultra. Yeah, I'll just play it and we'll go through it. So really working on that verse, I reckon that'll clean up really, really well. There's enough to kind of strip down. Thanks, Jerry. And then breaking into this bit, I reckon we can really widen everything out, ping everything through, and that little delay on that snare hit, I don't know how that's resonating with me yet, but I like it, it's interesting. I love that really super broken up, can't barely sing those notes, feels really great. So that just looped around. I'm just like show you some of the stuff that we just ditched. Interesting drum patterns, maybe later on. I definitely keep everything that we've got there and we'll have a listen to it later. Maybe the song might take us back here where we just need some more, but there's enough things going on with it. That's a really nice and interesting breakdown moment. I remember when I wrote this, I hated it. So here's another component. Okay, so that's at the start of the song. Oh no. And then one other movement down there. Wow. That is like squeezing. I actually really enjoy it when a bass does that. Like it just feels like it's super squeezed in that resonant area. And the reason that happens is I'm pushing the distortion edge over this analog filter here. So if you're really super interested in how that was set up, Jerry, that's I did a very similar thing to what I just did in that previous song, breaking this whole thing down. But just as a refresher, this was me going through my drum sample collections and then just showing you how I personalize all the drums, get rid of things and recreate them. So you can kind of see through here, I've got a kick, a snare hit, a body, and a snare. And I just talk through the characteristics of what makes up a snare and how with all these samples that you have, you're listening for certain things within it and then you reconstruct it and build it through. The other concepts I covered was the idea of tuning and how important that is. So I go through and I show you how I tune a kick drum and how that kind of works, and then even how I tune the body of a snare, which is really important for me because those things help all of it glue together. And so these drums for me just this isn't even mixed or anything, I'm just kind of throwing it together. It's at a good state, but you just kind of want all of this to glue together, all this kit, and it bounces really nicely, it kind of sits through. And I've got all these ideas of turning the volume down here and then opening it back up so that we can kind of get this like kind of tone through. Yeah, that's right. So the root note is what I'm aiming for and all of that. So one tool that's really helped me is in this, I don't have perfect pitch, some people do, and I love you. That's incredible. What an insane gift you have. So I have a tuner and I run it all through there. But look, I'll move down to the next song. You'll see it in the session from today, 3.1, and it'll be on the end part of it after the break. But that I just talked through the concept of tuning a kit and stuff like that. Each one of these songs I've started differently. And the two from this morning I started by just going through my kick, snare, and hi-hat samples and stuff like that. Alright, let's open up the next song. I don't know if you missed out on this one at Ultra, but if you didn't, then you're just like, oh, I just slept through one. So, oh wow, I had a pretty sad morning, I think. Lots of melancholy tones. So they're the lyrics that I've just brought up. I don't know what "n" means, but it means something, and it meant something to me when I read it. So this is another one. With this one, we started off with drum collection. With all the other songs that we're working on, we will be mixing them in with some drum samples and collections of stuff we've got over time. And it's generally how I work. I kind of have bit kits that I create with the oscillators that I draw, and then I kind of layer in all these other kick and other samples and stuff like that. There is nothing wrong with that. I've worked with bunches of people, and this is all how everyone works. They just kind of layer sounds and tones and everything. So don't ever feel bad for it. At the same time, if you can get yourself into a studio and you can just sample out a kit, awesome, more power to you, and you should do that because you have access to it. So what I'll do is I'm going to play through this. I don't remember it, so let's... This is song, or idea number 6, and these are the lyrics that I could hear in it, and a bunch of notes, and we can have a look at that in a bit.
Dying to believe, hitting up your show. Everything is lost, everything is found. Nothing seems to ground you, everything is gone. Here I am.
So that was super interesting. I really like that. It did that thing where you kind of those bass tones still your voice but manipulated. So those bass tones were drawn in oscillators straight into renoise. So I generally do all my bass tones that way, and then I kind of affect them. So there's a couple of chains that I use for it to get these kind of growls and these tones and these distortions over it. But yeah, that's in that. I think that's all will all be in the session, and if you keep following me, I run through different ways of setting those up as well. Yeah. So that song really surprised me, and I think there's a lot of potential in the way that works, especially since usually what happens, like in a chorus, it gets to this bit and someone like screams this big note and everything's just like, yeah, and you just get all the chills and the emotions. And what's so understated in this, which needs to really be honored, is the fact that that I just go, here I am, in a low tone. And something about that, and now I remember what the song was about, was just being nervous about being yourself in front of everyone. And then you kind of, like, you know, this whole bit at the beginning is that whole lead up, that tone in your voice. It's just like, oh, am I good enough? I'm not good enough. I've got, everything's lost. Oh, everything's found. And you're kind of like scattering through these thoughts, and then you just say this line, oh, here I am. This is who I am. So really just listen back to that again, and then that's what when we work on this piece, we really need to bring to the forefront, so that when this chorus kind of hits through, it just overflows you with joy and emotion that this person is themselves. They're amazing. So let's have a look at this, and it just needs a lot of work. I love that shift. I didn't expect that. Some of those instruments should be replaced with other things or worked on.
Everything is found. Nothing seems to ground.
think something needs to change in that chord progression there. I felt like it looped funny. So just when all the other little high bits come in there, it's a massive mess, and completely realize that as we're kind of fumbling through trying to cram as much as we can into a 2.5 hour, 3 hour session. But the potential of where to go is pretty powerful in that one, and there's something so for me really beautiful and understated again about just the constant here I am, just being subtle and really not big. And just using that rhythm like is going to be really fun to play with, and I think we could cut that vocal up and just like place it around the places. So one thing I don't like to do is listen to the songs too much, because how I'm talking, where I get really excited and I'm just like, oh, let's tackle it. I really want to work on this. And what I love to do is keep as much distance from remembering it as possible, because that keeps you really in the moment when you're cutting and pasting and pulling things together. So I'm doing this for you, Ultra. I'm doing this for you, man. And hopefully when I fall asleep tonight, I forget everything. And then I won't listen to them again until next week. So I think is it the last one you didn't hear, Ultra? Like maybe I don't go back. I just need to go to song 3. That was the only one I didn't bounce down, and I need to. And yeah, I know. And when you overlisten loops, you fatigue so quickly on them too. Like everyone's the same. Your ear just goes and then you show someone else and they're just like, play it again. Oh man, where that did that was amazing and that's great. And you're just looking at it going, really? I don't think so. So yeah, it's really important to be okay with not listening to it. And it's a really hard discipline too, because some of the songs I can't finish are the ones like you were saying, Cameron, that I just listen to it over and over and over and over again. So yeah. Okay, so this is song 3, the one that I couldn't be friends with. Yeah, that's so true. Let's have a listen to it. I am going to bounce it down. I'll put it into some formality setup. The whole idea of RPM is to expose all the songs, good, bad, or whatever it is. And who knows, we could really work on this a little bit more. I'm just going to bring up the stuff from song 3 that we wrote down. What have we got? No lyrics. And what have we got for notes? Needs to really be curated into place. That's some really cryptic notes that say I didn't like the whole thing. Lots of muted channels, so let's go through this and figure out what's in place. I actually don't mind it. Okay, so it needs a lot of shaping. What a really weird and interesting bass line. Really interesting vocal line. It's way too saturated, but that's okay. And I've got some vocoder and vocals. Let's have a listen. Nothing was triggered off in them. Alright, let's just turn everything on. Alright. That's really interesting. Okay, so we got two separate ideas that just need a bit of building. The vocals are super drowned in the background. That happens. And it just feels super muddy. Everything's kind of in the mid-tone. But I can definitely see more potential in it than I did this morning. Okay, so I'll just get rid of these two movements from there. Delete this second part. We'll have that as a break for the next bit, as if it's supposed to do something. And then I'll just listen to this bleed over. You can kind of see with this button here, you can write, "This is awesome." And then you can kind of place it around, but I use this to kind of break up the chorus structures. Then it has one more, like if I pull out really far, like see here, it allows you to put that break on that side, and then you can write, you know, another something here. That's a really good point. Let me just see how long this string can go. Does it wrap? No. So pretty short notes that we'd have to put in there, and that's as far as it kind of goes. So I generally kind of just break it up that way, and then sometimes I might go and pull that out to write more. But when I'm getting more specific about notes, I'll probably write up on this setup. But that's exactly what I should be doing as well. So I'll just put in here intro. Idea, and then we'll just stick one above here that just says verse idea. Ooh, I've done this for some of the other songs, but it's pretty inconsistent. And then we'll put another one in here. We'll say that this is the chorus. I'm just going to check the verse idea bleeding into the chorus, so that when I record it, I've note turned off everything I need to. So good, I checked. This channel here has not been turned off. Alright, I'll just bounce that down. And I'll add this to the SoundCloud collection. There's something so awkward and awesome about that bass line that's just cracking me up. I don't know why, but it just kind of works, but it shouldn't, and it just feels like someone's, I don't know, just bouncing a little bit in the background. Anyway, it's the small things that amuse us, isn't it? Okay, song 3, and we'll drop it in there. Through that way. Awesome. Well, as it's bouncing down, I just thank you all so much for watching through the stream. I think I had said when we started this that this has way exceeded my expectations. Yeah, just thank you for turning up and watching me through the process and just seeing how all this stuff kind of comes together. There's a certain amount of trust that comes in when you are exposing all of it, because I kind of get worried that people are just like, oh, I shouldn't do it like that, you shouldn't do it like this, but I think there's a certain amount of awesome respect, just, you know, that that chat has had over this whole thing, so I'm really appreciative of that. I just will do the normal kind of like, yeah, just tell everyone about it. The more people we can get involved, the more I can become a partner with Twitch, which is just the ability to run this at a higher res without it stuttering for people. And then I think we're really close to becoming an affiliate, which just means that you guys can sub to the channel, and I can put that money into growing and expanding the channel, but also just paying for my time and putting all this stuff together, which has been an immense amount of fun. Like even putting these transitions together, showing off my graphical skills, and then later on I will actually go through and because I do art for a living, I'm a creative director for a agency, and there's a ton of stuff that I love. Like I use gaming engines to put all my stuff together, and even all these little packages that you're seeing, it's kind of my day job, but as I'm getting closer to it, I'm realizing that people are kind of really interested in that kind of workflow, and I love talking about it, so yeah. Oh yeah, I will definitely reach out to those guys. That is so awesome. Like Jerry, when I did this 10 years ago, so I did the RPM challenge in 2009. One of the restrictions I placed on myself was to only use Renoise plugins, and the idea was then I could share all of the Renoise files, all the raw Renoise files with everyone, which I did, and you can check that out. I think if you get the Bandcamp album, they're included in there. If they're not, just hit me up, and then you can kind of see how all of it's been edited to put together. I may do it for one track in this because it's such a old school mentality. Like that's how, when I was growing up, the only way I learned how to do tracking stuff was through artists. Like there's an artist called Lizard King that I loved, an artist called Moby that I just absolutely loved, and oh my goodness, there's a lot of artists that I used to listen to, and all they were trying to do is emulate music that they liked through 4/8 channels that could barely be done on the Amiga at the time. So part of that was just to say thank you to the community, because I get to do music all the time and I get to perform music and put it out there, but had it not been for the demo scene or trackers in general, I would never be able to express my feelings, thoughts, and all these emotions through all this stuff. So grateful to the community, and so yeah, I'll definitely say thank you to the Renoise guys for redoing that. Cameron, I agree. There is no disagreement here with the Amiga. You could do anything. I remember being at school and some PC guy came up to me and he's just like, my PC, it's got 256 colors. It's like the best. And I'm like, dude, the Amiga has millions. And I think I knew the exact number at that time, and he just looked at me like, no, that's impossible. I'm like, no, I'm telling you right now, there's millions of colors in the Amiga and it has the capacity to do that, and you should invest in it. So I don't know what he did with that information. I think he just you know, the PC and Amiga wars started at that point, But that always just cracks me up because like I was so into the Amiga. I think I had like the 500, the 1200. Yeah, I know. I started off I think on the 500, but I used to write music on the Commodore 64 like that. Look, I look really young, but man, I'm not. Like if you look up all that stuff, you'll be like, damn. So, um, yeah, the Commodore 64 was quite something, but I was really young. I think I was like maybe only 10 or 11 when I kind of started using trackers. And then I think when I was 14, I really got heavily into it, and by about 15 or 16, I was writing music on the Amiga. So, and that was heaps of fun. But yeah, as we get into stream more, ask me more questions about that stuff, and I can tell you some stories about it all. Yeah, Sound Tracker. Oh my goodness, Pro Tracker blew my mind. I tell you what, oh, I've forgotten the name. Shadow of the Beast. When I played that game for the first time, which you couldn't finish, it was an impossible game. I think games are hard now. Couldn't get past the ants. Couldn't even get inside the tree. But I just wanted to keep playing it because of the music. And then I remember getting all of this like software to kind of break apart all the files in Shadow of the Beast to figure out whether I could get the music out of it. So, no way. Cameron, you have to send me a picture if you still got it. Yeah, I tried to get into Octomed for a while. It was I don't know what I remember about that. I think like Impulse Tracker, I did a few things like because when I had joined that music group, 5 musicians, I think a ton of them were using Impulse Tracker, so I had to kind of catch up and kind of learn that a little bit. But if I remember correctly, was Octomed more mouse driven? Your message is being checked for swearing. Wow. I'm sure it'll pop through in a sec. Still got it. Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks for oh, okay. Is Octomed on Windows 10? Ah, yeah, gotcha. I just remember not being able to get into Octomed as much as I wanted to. Like the way it dealt with samples was a little bit different. It's funny how Renoise was really it's really Pro Tracker, but then when you use Pro Tracker, you realize it's nothing like it at all. But it took me a while. Like this is kind of a hybrid between Impulse Tracker and yeah, Pro Tracker. Let's talk more in the week. If you guys are around, hit me up in chat as I'm writing through music. Keeping me company. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm gonna call it a night, get some rest. We got 8 songs done. Well, 8 ideas done in 3 days. So good. And then I'm hoping that we can try and get 1.5 or nearly 2 done every single night for the rest of this week. So yeah, check my streaming times. I think they're local. And then that way we can kind of coordinate it. But people in the Americas and even in Europe, it's really complicated, so I'll do my best to try and get some late nights in so that we hit you early morning, because it sucks being in Australia sometimes. It's completely at the polar opposite all the way through. But thank you so much for your time tonight, everyone. I will catch you around and I'll see you soon. See you later.
I 54. Nothing's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I love me sitting 54. there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, come on after me. And when they fall, I won't let they fall. I'll knees and if they fall, there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. In these days, coming after me, and when they fall, I won't let they fall. I won't let they. I'll knees sitting if they fall. If there's enough for me, I bet the knees and if there's fall. fall. But there's enough for me. I bet the knees never fall. In these